Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this 64th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include, from The Voice, we've got Rio Doyle. She's from Michigan, a member of Team Legend. Well, from Team Nick from Wisconsin, we've got Raine Stern. From New Jersey, we've got from Team Legend, Carolina Rial. And from Nashville, from Team Blake, Pete Mroz. We'll also visit with country singer Jeff Carson. Got a new single that's in the top 40, God Save the World. And we'll also visit with best-selling author Kaira Rouda. Got a brand new book, The Next Wife, that will be available May 1st. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and share with your friends. Now, this is the opinion of one person who's, well, probably 17, so I'm not going to put too much stock in it, but who knows? Someone who recently quit their job at McDonald's got on Reddit to reveal various secrets that most people don't know. And the one that I noticed was that there's a specific day of the week when they claim the food tastes worse. They say that on Sundays, the quality of food tends to suffer because they never have senior management there. So people slack off and don't care as much. Now, we've seen other people claim that today is the worst day for fast food. They say that Mondays are when employees are most likely to be burned out from the weekend, just like the rest of us. And a lot of restaurants get new shipments on Tuesdays, so on Mondays, some of the ingredients might not be as fresh. We know that The Voice coming up tonight and tomorrow night. And from Team Legend, we've got Rio Doyle on the line. And first off, Rio, appreciate you taking some time this morning.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here.
Now, Rio, tell us, what was the motivation to go for the tryout on The Voice this year?
Well, I think part of fun opportunity. It's crazy to even think about auditioning for The Voice. Let alone you actually be on it. And I thought it would just be a fun opportunity and a challenge to myself to see what I'm fully capable of and see how far I can take my goals, and just to prove to myself what I can really do. It's also a great learning experience too. And I think it's great to just even go to auditions, regardless of the result. If you get a yes or a no, it's a great experience to learn from every single time you audition.
Now, what was that audition like? The blind audition, how do you prepare yourself mentally for that?
Well, the blind audition it was honestly a dream come true. And I think, because I have a previous history of trying out for the show several times. And as a believer as well, I think this was, God's timing for me. And so being up on that stage, obviously I felt very nervous and starstruck, and there was a lot of adrenaline going through, but I also kind of felt like this was my moment. I'm meant to be here, regardless of the results. I'm proud of how far I got, and so I prepared. And of course, I practiced my song countless times. I have a lot of voice memos of my recording, and just really hard work really got me up on that stage.
Now, Rio, for you, what made this year different for you? Was it maybe your grasp of your overall talents, or what was it that you think propelled you through this time around?
I think it was just a point in my life where I needed something more, and like I had said, it was just a big challenge and a big step for me to take too. As a junior in high school, this isn't something that is necessarily easy to balance with schoolwork. And so I just I had this opportunity and I just took it. I'm learning so much from it as an artist and a person. And I just really think it's a great opportunity. And I think that, with COVID going on, it couldn't be better for me because I'm doing online schooling. So it's easy for me to travel. And, it was easy for me to disappear for a while because I couldn't tell people I was on the show yet. And it just gave me time to really focus on this and focus on my craft.
Now, after you build the relationships and the friendships among teammates, and what's it like to have to then go face to face in the battle rounds? What is that experience like for you?
Honestly, it doesn't feel like a battle, especially, I was blessed to be paired with Carolina, who's one of my closest friends. And I think our mindset throughout the whole show, throughout our whole battle process, was how can we help each other go further because I knew that I didn't want to see her go home. And of course, you never want to go home yet. You want to keep growing. And so her and I really just wanted to make this a performance to share together and have that as a memory. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily a battle to me. And I don't think it was scary either. I think I felt more safe up on that stage than I did my blind because I was with somebody that I've worked so hard with and with somebody that cares for me and is, going for the same thing that I am and that she's very passionate about it. And so I was just very comfortable up on that stage with her. And I'm just thankful to have that moment.
Now, what has been the biggest thing so far, maybe the biggest takeaway that you have so far on the season?
I think the biggest takeaway would obviously be the family I've created. Not only am I surrounded by people who understand my love for music, but I'm also surrounded by, other believers. And there's a difference between, regular people and people that share music. And I think music creates such a strong bond. And I feel close to every single one of the contestants this season. As far as, vocally, big takeaways, I've really learned how to strengthen my breath support and to increase my range. It really does, practice does make perfect. Nothing is perfect, but practice really will change where you start and where you finish. And I think from my blind just to my battle, I've shown so much growth, and that's something I'm proud of.
And Rio, how much have you had to rely on your faith, especially in those moments of questioning? I know you've got to question yourself from time to time, but how much do you have to rely on your faith, especially on The Voice and in the midst of all we're living through right now?
Well, my mom always tells me that no matter how far I go, that I'm a winner, and I believe that in the sense that God got me here for a reason, and this is my time to learn something. And when there's times of where I struggle, I kind of I remember that I'm here for a reason, and He's going to take me as far as I need to go, and I'm going to do my best to go as far as I need to go. I've really felt supported throughout this whole process, and it's been crazy too, but it's been a dream come true.
That's cool. Now, Rio, if folks want to keep up with everything you've got going social media-wise as the show progresses, where's the best place to keep up with everything?
Definitely Instagram is the best place to keep up with me. My handle is riolana.doyle, and you'll see a lot of, posts for the show and posts of me and my daily life, and then you're going to see a lot of behind the scenes with the cast of this season, and I promise you're in for some good laughs because I have some really good photos that are just totally embarrassing and hilarious for the cast.
Again, Rio, it has been great to visit with you this morning. Continued success on The Voice, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon, my friend.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Now, as a guy who thinks there's basically nothing more erotic than a bearded lady, this is pretty devastating. That was tongue-in-cheek, by the way. Well, according to some beauty experts, more women than ever are shaving their faces. And it's not just to get rid of that gorgeous mustache hair or sexy sideburn. Some dermatologists recommend doing it to help exfoliate the skin. Dr. David Kim is a dermatologist in San Francisco, and he says that shaving your face can accomplish a lot of the same things you'd get from a dermaplaning treatment. Quote, dermaplaning is when you take a very gentle, blunt scalpel and you scrape over the surface of your skin on the face or anywhere else on the body to gently exfoliate to remove dead skin cells and dirt and oil accumulation. Now, there are also some female Instagram influencers pushing face shaving, of course. Now, one of them is a woman named Megan Carboni, who says she's on a, quote, mission to normalize female facial shaving. She's also selling female shaving kits that start at $25. Raine Stern from Team Nick. And first off, Raine, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
100%. Let's do it.
Now, Raine, tell us where did music first come into your life? Where did you know that you had a gift and something a dream that you had to chase?
That's a great question. Yes, and yes. I knew I had a gift basically as soon as I picked up the guitar. When I was 11 years old, I started writing music pretty much immediately. And I think that the inspiration and love for music and gift born into because when I was very small, 5 years old, I was already coming home from school saying, hey, I know my classmate wearing these tight yoga pants that say tasty on her butt. Don't you think that kind of is encouraging the sexualization of young girls, you know? And my parents are going, whoa, our kid is aware, like very aware. And of course, like music, I've been listening to music as I think most people have been, at least in the modern area, for my entire life. And it's always been extremely connected to, but I felt the most connected to it when to say through it or when other people use it to talk about or bring light to an issue or looking inwards at yourself and becoming a better person, for example. So, I think that's really my both on and off the show with music is to do that.
Now, as you come in for the blind audition, first off, how did you mentally prepare? And did you get any sleep for the days leading up to the tryout?
Yeah, I did. I think blind auditions in particular, as a voice employee quite literally said, weirdly calm for. I was sitting, just hanging out, waiting for my turn, and a voice employee walks up to me and says, hey, Raine, you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm great. How are you? And he's like, you're like weirdly calm. Like I don't usually see contestants this calm, especially not for blind auditions. And I was like, well, you know, how are my nerves going to really serve me in this situation? And what do I ultimately have to be nervous for? Like, the worst thing that could happen is I get up there, I sing an off note, and it gets played for millions in America. And I know while that might seem like a terrible, terrifying thing to happen, it's like I'm still so blessed. There's so many other things that are like, and me being human is not one of them.
And have you found the music as being a part of the voice? Are you so overwhelmed with music throughout the day? Has that affected your songwriting, or maybe has it inspired you a bit more?
The music on The Voice?
Having to do music so much, has it inspired or maybe taken away just because of the intense amount on your schedule?
I would say neither. It hasn't been that intense. I mean, for anybody who's like a performer and like a touring musician as your profession, this is kind of like nothing. It's not that it's not intense or that there isn't a lot of work that goes into it, but I mean, we're working on one song at a time, and it's also like a shortened version of the song. And I 60 songs on guitar prepare for, another band's guitarist couldn't make it, and so I had to fill in. So it's like, that's a lot of pressure. So, but when it comes to songwriting, to be honest, I have been inspired maybe by learning some of the things that I do and don't want in my life, changed my music style being on the show.
Now, what was the battle round like for you on a personal side?
On a personal side, I was doing all right. I was doing all right, definitely in the beginning, because I was like, all right, I'm not super familiar with this song. It's not really my kind of route or thing that I would do, but I'm also not against doing a song like that. So. And then as the weeks went by, I had a tonsil infection And then I also had 2 wisdom teeth starting to come in about 2 weeks right before we performed our song. And so that was I was getting a little bit worse every day performance. And then I started to have those kind of thoughts and feelings creep in. And then it was just a challenge of you're alone in a hotel room, you can't really see anybody or hug anybody because of COVID, and you're not feeling very good, but you're doing COVID tests every day and you're negative for them. So you still just got to challenge through this. And it was really just a testament to my attitude and my strength and whether or not I could live towards everybody else around me, even while I was not feeling that great.
That's right. Now, Raine, as you continue on the season, obviously social media, a huge part as we get in the later rounds. Always want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can keep up with everything you've got going social media-wise as well.
Me, Raine Stern, Raine. The E is important. STERN, Raine Stern on pretty much any social media platform handle on lockdown. So go ahead and follow me on TikTok, Instagram. I go live on my Instagram stories and I invite you on. So definitely follow me on that platform for sure.
There you go. Well, Raine, it has been great to visit with you this morning. Continued success on the season, and hopefully we'll catch up again real soon.
Perfect. Thank you, man.
Now, work clothes were already getting more casual before the pandemic, and now I'm pretty sure everyone's going to go full-on mutiny if they can't wear flip-flops and sweatpants to the office 5 days a week. But there's an actual reason for wearing things like suits or at least business casual stuff to work. A new survey asked people if wearing nicer clothes makes them more productive than wearing casual clothes. And 31% of people actually admitted that, yeah, they do better work when they're more dressed up. 50% of people say their clothes don't affect their productivity, and the rest aren't sure. Now, for what it's worth, women say their clothes have a bigger impact on their work than men. 36% of women say dressing in more formal clothes makes them more productive, versus just 25% of men. Our next guest, and man, I've told him before we came on the air, been a fan for many years. Glad to have the opportunity. Got a brand new single that's continuing to climb. And with that in mind, Jeff Carson on with us. And Jeff, great to visit with you, brother.
Man, Cameron, thank you so much, buddy. Good to talk with you too.
Now, Jeff, tell us about the new single, 2020, and all we've been through, and how this single has blown up. And did you ever think that you'd have another top 40 in country music, right?
No, man. I had to walk away from country music about 2005. I just couldn't make it anymore. I couldn't make a living at it anymore. Had a newborn son, and I was a stay-at-home dad for his first 5 years, and I wouldn't trade those years for anything. But about 2008, when he started going to kindergarten, I thought I gotta get a real job, something I can have a steady paycheck. So as much as I hated to do it, I walked away from the music and became a police officer. So after 13 years of being a cop, finally dabbling my toes back into the music again, and to have something top 40 just beyond anything I could ever imagine.
And it grew and grew and grew. And I know they've got an alternate version that has come out, and got Lisa Brokop on that one. And to hear that added into the original version, Jeff, I mean, for you, that first time you heard it, what was it like?
Actually, believe it or not, when you refer to the Lisa Brokop, that version, that is the original one. That's the one we recorded while I was on Curb. And I love Lisa's voice. Actually, I was hired from the songwriter, Doug Johnson, for that song to go in and sing it as a demo. And the idea, that's when you go in for the purpose of singing a song that will be pitched to other artists, right, and hope they get a cut, So I sang that vocal that you hear with just me and a keyboard player. And later on, without I even knew it, they brought players in and rap tracks all around it and brought Lisa Brokop in. She was on Curb Records at the time I was, and made a whole song about it. Now, what brought it up this year, after I haven't had a single out in 21 years or 20 years. So it's crazy. I got with MC1 Records, less than a year ago, about 6 months ago. And they said, you know what? That song that you had back in the day wasn't released as a single. It's on the album. It lends itself really to the times we're living in, and thought we'd re-record it and put it out. And got in the top 40, and then Curb Records came, and we've been working with them. They put it out, and so I'm so excited.
Now, how much is the promotion and the marketing? How different does that look from the last single that you released, brother?
Man, I don't even know how it works anymore. Craig Powers from over at MCC Curb. It was MCG Curb back in the day. I was on it, and I guess they folded that part up and they reopened it. And I think MCG was already taken for something else. But anyway, since Craig Powers is the head honcho over there, every week he sends a news blast, and it has all these acronyms and numbers and hyphens, and I have to call somebody every week. Okay, what does all this mean?
Now, for you, what has been the biggest blessing of having another single out there? And we saw the video you tagged us in on whenever it hit the top 40, and I mean, is it hard for you to share those kind of videos, or being out of the industry like you have been, does it maybe for you feel a little better just to be transparent and
are you talking about the one I was in my patrol car and got a little emotional?
You got a little emotional.
I couldn't help it, man. The reason I really recorded it was just for myself to, how on social media like Facebook, something pops up a year later and keeps reminding you every year. I love that stuff when it pops up and reminds me. I wanted something that would keep popping up that reminded me that, 20 years after having anything on the charts, I finally got on the top 40. I never would have dreamed of what happened. I didn't even watch the charts until it was like 50 something. I thought, wow, that'd be really crazy to have a top 40. And so then I started watching every week, and it kept climbing and climbing. And it actually made it to 35. It's like, man, it's just incredible. Yeah, it wasn't hard to share in a way because it just meant so much to me.
Now, what's this last year been like? I mean, away from doing the music, but as a police officer as well, to see what folks are going through in the midst of all the craziness in this world.
I'm really blessed to live and work in a small town that I think we probably have 250 or less sworn officers. It's a smaller town. And the majority of the people that live in the town, I mean, when I'm on duty, there's people daily that roll up and say, hey, we just want to let you know, we got your back. We thank you for what you do. And that means a lot. I tell you, if I was this whole last summer, if I was in some of those larger cities, I'd be finding another job, brother.
I guarantee.
I would.
Now, what?
So my hat's off to those officers who stand out there in that riot gear in the blazing heat all last summer, man. My hat's off to them.
Now, what has maybe been the biggest eye opener for you with the release of the single? Has it maybe reignited a passion for music, or is it just kind of a one-off, if you will?
I wanted to play music again. I've got about 6 or 8 dates on the books already for the summer, and I'm so excited about. That's the only reason. I just wanted to get back in it, maybe raise enough awareness to let people know I'm still alive, and would love to go out there and play some. And got some live shows coming up, and that's really that's what I really wanted to do.
Now, how much training have you had to take in social media in the last year?
I was on a specialized unit where we kept track of, we had some fictitious accounts, and we had to keep track of social media of different people, kind of intel gathering stuff. So I got kind of pretty versed in it, but not all of them. Every time you turn around, there's another social media platform pop up. I think mostly, I don't even Twitter much. Well, I don't. It's pretty much just Facebook and Instagram right now, and YouTube. I have my YouTube channel, but it's changing every day, isn't it?
It is. And now, being away from music, do you still write songs? Have you still written songs over the past several years?
I have not. I wrote one. I've written 2 songs just since I got with these people and got with some other songwriters. That's more than I've written. I tell you, when I say I hung my guitar up, I literally didn't take it off the wall. I didn't play any guitar for at least 5 years. Never. I don't know if it was just being depressed with it, the whole music, or just being jealous of the ones who were making it, But yeah, I just hung it up and, started to mellow.
Now, when you got that feedback, I mean, obviously you weren't necessarily expecting it right away, but as the feedback rolled in and the lives that you were touching with the song, how did that affect you on a personal level?
Well, it's just like it did on the charts. It's amazing to me. And having, like you said, social media allows people to share their stories of how the song meant to them and what it meant to them. And I think that's not having social media back when I was out. I mean, we had flip phones. That was it, man. At least it was a step up from the bag phones. But yeah, everybody, it's probably better that everyone didn't have a video recorder back in those days. But it is a more than, I'm just more than happy with the result of what it's doing and what people are saying and commenting about.
Now, you talked about having some live shows coming up. What was it like? Have you played any live shows since all this happened?
Stuff's popping up in my news feed, and I'm looking at about 2 years ago when I was approached by some people up north of Michigan at a casino. Said, "Hey, would you like to come up here and play and maybe just do a show just dedicated to Merle Haggard?" Well, heck yeah, I wouldn't have to rehearse that stuff, So I did. They had a band up there, and everybody knew the standards, and we played, of course, some of my songs, "Not on Your Love" in the car, "Real Life." But man, just doing those was just it felt so good. And that's been about 2 years ago. And I did a run of those. I did probably 6 or 8 shows for the Fraternal Order of Police. They didn't even know I was a cop, but I did those and did a lot of shows. Matter of fact, I got a couple of shows in Georgia coming up next month where it's billed as Legends of Country Music. So again, it's just going to be Merle Haggard and George Jones and Willie and Waylon, that kind of stuff, along with some of mine that I just love. I'm going to throw some 90s stuff in there from other artists too.
Now, who are the 90s artists that you've stayed in contact with over the years?
Craig Morgan. We chat every now and then. Mark Wills and I chat every now and then. Daryl Singletary and I have probably chatted the most. That's really about it.
Now, how much pride do you take looking back at the music of the 90s and the influence that and the part that you played in that generation of music?
I love it, man. I can't. There's a few artists out there that kind of, and I wouldn't call 90s country traditional. Traditional in my opinion is the Merle and Waylon. I don't know what that, other than just 90s music, had a sound of its own. I remember we were called hat acts because everyone wore a cowboy hat. So Michael Ray is a new artist really doing well. And he always tips his hat to the 90s artists, and we appreciate that. Matter of fact, I've done a couple things live in the last year or so here around Nashville, and I always hit him up and say, "Hey, would you like to come out and join me?" And he has both times, and singing the second verse of The Car with me. So, man, yeah, it's a good punch in the arm when someone doing so well and that young knows the old guy stuff,
Michael's a good one. He's a good kid.
He sure is.
Now, you got some shows coming up. What's the goal set for the rest of 2021?
I don't know, man. Other than working my other job 40 hours a week, it keeps me busy, man. Especially now, just this next weekend, going to see the Braves play, and so I was going to take a vacation day Saturday and take a vacation, day. Well, you can't because there's not enough officers, so we've got to do some swapping around with some other officers. So in their place, I'm working tomorrow instead of Wednesday, so I can take Sarah. It's for some reason there's not a clamoring of people wanting to be cops nowadays.
That's true. That is true. Now, you mentioned the social media, Instagram, Facebook, probably the most active for you.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook probably most. I do a Throwback Thursday every week on Thursday. Imagine that, and I put that out on those three platforms.
That's cool. Well,
you get a lot of people watching. I'm very proud of them.
That's cool. That's cool stuff. Well, Jeff, it has truly been a privilege to have some time. I know our schedules kind of messed up a couple of times the last couple of weeks, but we made it happen.
Man, and I thank you too. And I know that we were scheduled for tomorrow, and like I said, I have to work tomorrow now to make up for Saturday. So, man, I appreciate you working with me, Cameron.
Oh, no worries. And hopefully, Jeff, we can catch up again real soon, brother.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm from Tulsa, so I miss Oklahoma. I see your Oklahoma Sooners. We used to have one of those Oklahoma Sooners cheerleading doll. You pull the string out, it say Boomer Sooners.
That's good stuff. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, good to see you, Cameron. Thank you, man.
Good to see you too. Now, I don't know how fair or scientific this was, but a new study found that the Northeast is full of people who think they're better than me. Now, someone ranked the snobbiest states in America by looking at graduation rates, how many people got their degree in the arts or humanities, how many top-tier universities there are in general, and how much wine people drink. And according to the results, 7 of the top 10 are in the Northeast. Number 1, Massachusetts. Number 2, Vermont. Number 3, Connecticut. Number 4, New York. Number 5, New Hampshire. Number 6, Rhode Island. Number 7, California. Number 8, Oregon. Number 9, Maine. And number 10, Virginia. Now, at the other end of the list, the least snobby or most humble states in America are West Virginia, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Alabama. The Voice continues on, and from Team Legend, Saved by Team Legend, Carolina Rial on the line with us this morning. And first off, Carolina, appreciate you taking some time to be on the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now, Carolina, what has this season so far? Did it live up to expectations of what you had coming in?
Coming in, I was like, I'm going to be in a competition with people who are so, so incredible. So it's going to be challenging, but it's been very challenging, and I'm just very, very thankful and grateful for it all, and to still be around. It's been such a wild experience, but I'm grateful for it all.
Talk about a wild experience. What can you equate the blind audition to anything that you've done previously?
Oh my goodness, I can't even I grew up very shy, so I sang at smaller venues, but then when I was 13, I actually started opening up a little bit more, and then by the time I was 15, 16, I sang at MetLife started. And those two experiences were already mind-blowing. But then The Voice came around, and that was even more mind-blowing. And it's only because the show is so iconic, and I've always looked up to people on The Voice. So to be here now, it's been really, really surreal.
Now, I was reading how you started out and dancing and all of that was a part of your life, but you had a secret love for music. How long did it take for you to express that love of music and also get the feedback you were looking for as well?
Well, I always really liked dancing because I could always be in a group of people and I could always hide myself because I grew up very shy. I didn't want anybody to hear me. I didn't want people to hear me mainly because I didn't want to hear what other people were going to say about me, but it didn't take me very long to realize that that's not what it's about. It's about what I love to do and what I think I would be good at. So to be able to look back now and see people's reactions to both my blind and battle has been really, really incredible and super humbling me. And I'm so grateful for it all to be able to look back and see that now.
And you talked about the battle. How do you prepare for that? And after you've developed the relationship that you have on the show, how hard is the battle? Or is it one of those things where you just feel like you're just going to do the best possible for both of you?
The battle round is definitely the most challenging. And it's mainly somebody, and you want to make sure that you do stand out, because you would love to win your battle, but you also want to make sure that it sounds great with the other person that you're singing with, to the point where you would hope that both of you go through. So I was paired with one of my closest friends on the show, Rio Doyle, and we didn't want to see any of us going home. So we really wanted to make sure that we were able to put a duet together that sounded really good together, rather than just like solo parts.
Now, what have you learned the most that you are going to take as you move forward? Maybe something that you've picked up on the show since you've been on?
Definitely. I think that the biggest thing for me has been to keep on going without forgetting who you are in your past, because I would not be where I am right now without my family, without the support system from friends, and absolutely not. So I want to be able to keep on going, moving forward in this competition with that in mind always, and never forgetting who I am as a person, where I come from. I think that that's really important, and I wouldn't want to see anybody forget that moving forward.
Now, for you, how different or how crazy was it going in and finding out that you had the audition in the midst of what all that 2020 and 2021 have become for all of us, to know that you had the opportunity to be on The Voice? I mean, what was your original reaction to that?
Well, it was kind of unexpected, because I have listened to the show in the past, never gotten to the blind auditions ever, but like I've submitted videos here and there, but this was like the one time that I didn't submit a video, or like didn't spam the voice casting with videos. And then I got reached out to, and I think that that's, it's really important to always think, like, you know, the biggest things in life come when you least expect them to. So this kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh my goodness, somebody just contacted me to be on The Voice. So I took the opportunity, and I'm very, very glad that it went well.
Now, as you knew the blind audition was upcoming and the possibility of The Voice, how do you prepare yourself in the days leading up?
I would constantly practice. I didn't know what song I was going to be singing yet, so I would just sing random songs in the hopes that it would be one of them. But it's a lot of, you have to be prepared mentally and emotionally as well, because it is such a roller coaster of an experience, and you go through a lot, especially me being 17. There's a lot that I have to juggle, but I am very thankful that I've gotten to where I am now, and I wouldn't take back any of it.
Now, what has been the best piece of advice that Coach Legend, or maybe one of the mentors, has given you to that you've taken to heart?
I actually say this pretty often. I think that the biggest piece of advice that I learned from John, without him even telling me, is to always be humble, because whenever you're around John Legend, it doesn't seem like you're around a celebrity. It's like you're around just a regular guy, and just the way that he approaches anything, he approaches it with such humility, and has always been super passionate about what he does. So I think that's really important moving forward in anything in life, to always remember to be humble and grateful.
That's right. Well, Carolina, if folks want to keep up with everything you've got going on as you continue on the season of The Voice, where's the best place social media-wise to keep up?
So on Instagram, you guys can find me at Carolina Rial Music, also on Facebook, also on YouTube. I am on TikTok and Twitter. You can just search up my name, and hopefully you'll find me.
That's right. Well, Carolina, it has been great to have the chance to visit with you this morning. Appreciate the time, and hopefully continued success, and we can catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, here's a study, and you're right to be suspicious that it was planted in the media by your significant other, because I know I'm suspicious of this. Now, doing chores is great for your brain, at least according to a new study out of a neuroscience research center in Toronto. The researchers found that people who do a lot of housework have bigger and stronger brains, which is a key to staying sharp as you get older and even avoiding things like dementia. Now, there are a few theories why. One, when you're doing chores, you're up and moving around, so you're getting some low-intensity aerobic exercise, which is good for your heart, and that helps blood flow to your brain. And two, when you're doing housework, your brain is planning and organizing, which is keeping it sharper than just sitting around. from the season of The Voice as the battle rounds continue. From Team Blake, we've got Pete Rowe on the line with us. And first off, Pete, thank you so much for taking the time, brother.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Now, Pete, what was the driving force behind coming back around and retrying music? I mean, I don't know how many others know the story, but you left music kind of for a little bit, but then came back. Tell us the inspiration, if you will.
Yeah, the driving force to come back, man, is like, one, I've always loved music. It's never left me. No matter where I've went, it's inside of me. But later on in life, having children and gaining true purpose in my life, I wanted to show my sons that you can chase your dreams. You can be responsible and you can go out there and you can chase a dream. And like I said, you can be responsible doing it, but don't ever give up.
Now, what was it like for you at the blind audition, getting the chairs turned, and then what was the choice? Or what was the reasoning behind picking Blake, if you will?
Being at the blind auditions, it was crazy because, I was so focused and I was singing and John Legend turned. I didn't realize it was even him. That's how focused I was. And then when Blake turned, it broke my kind of concentration because I kind of subliminally knew where he sat, And my thought process with picking Blake was simply, I knew him a long time ago and it kind of felt like this kind of reunion, like an old family member that went off, like I joked and said, like Cousin Eddie that went off and became super successful, and it was just super. I was just happier, just really honestly, just to see him. As crazy as that may sound, even though I was on this voice stage and it's The Voice, I was more like just kind of like, hey, buddy, I haven't seen you in 25 years.
Having the length of career that you've had around music and being involved in music, I mean, how has that helped you out leading into this season?
It's helped me out tremendously being, that I've played music for so long, because not only have I played music, I lived in Nashville for 25 years. So all my friends, all of them are from every sector of the music business, whether it be booking or it be managers or it be publishers I grew up in Nashville, and that is the town. So it really kind of eases my nerves and everything to kind of be here, and it doesn't seem so nerve-wracking at all. It's just very normal. Minus the stage and everything.
And I've talked about this before. My first time I ever went to Nashville, I was walking down, I believe it was down Broadway, heading down to one of the shows down on the riverfront. And I remember walking down and hearing this amazing guitarist and singer and going, man, I wonder who I'm going to run into. And it ended up just being a guy with his case open in an alley. Does that ever get disheartening in Nashville with all of the talent that's around?
It does. It does. Funny you should say. I thought you were going to say you saw someone like Keith Urban or something, because someone relayed a story to me recently where they said, hey, you remember that time you got up and played with Keith Urban? And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, I forgot about so much stuff. And they're like, yeah, we were at Jack's Guitar Bar, and he had heard you play and asked you to come up. This is when Keith Urban was with The Ranch way back in the day. When he had his 3-piece band, and I went, oh my God, that's right, I did get up and play with him. So that's Nashville in a nutshell. You forget how much great talent is everywhere, every corner. It could be like you said, a guy busking is just like this amazing guitar shredder, and it really kind of sets the bar at a different level internally for you.
And Pete, you can probably speak to this as well, how Nashville has evolved as well into not just the home of country music. It's kind of the country, Music City, USA now, I guess, kind of the moniker, right?
Totally. Nashville, like you said, is not just country. It's all music. It's it's pop, it's rock, it's indie. It's everything you can consume. It's got to offer. Not to mention that it's the restaurant capitals now of the United States, and it's a trip. Nashville has become quite the city, if you will.
Now, how has goal setting changed as a result of what happened to everyone last year, Pete? Did that change the outlook on 2021 and maybe the way you pursue music even?
Yes. Yeah. Boy, that's a good question. Yes, it has definitely. During the pandemic, we all stopped. The world stopped for a while, and we got a chance to really get fear into us in a way we never knew, and then also groundingness, because I got a chance to reconnect with my family and spend more time with them because I was forced to stand still. So that being the case, you really look at things in a different perspective now, where it's like, this is what matters, this is what doesn't matter, this is what kind of matters, this is what really matters. And and with music, and herein comes the voice. I mean, dig this, man. I mean, that they came and asked, sent me an email about auditioning right during the pandemic, right when my mind was in that, like, what's next? What's going to happen next? And I'm just living right in front of me, man. Like, what's in front of me? I'm going to do what is next, and this is such a great opportunity, and who knows what's next? Let's see. I mean, I'm just as excited to see as a lot of people are. Honestly, I want to know what's going to happen.
Now, Pete, you talked about how we've had to change things up over the last year. What's the performance that you go back to in your mind as you're on The Voice that you're like, I'm on The Voice now, but say 6 months ago I was playing here? What was that place that you go back to in your mind?
I play with a blues band called Super Honk in Nashville. It's a blues band that we play these shows in Bourbon Streets at Printer's Alley in Nashville. And we have a blast playing. And for the last 6 years, that's been kind of what I've done every month. That's my consumption of music, if you will. And I just think back to those performances that we had a hoot and connecting with people. It's so... everyone's so on top of each other, close, and that obviously has kind of went away a bit. And now I'm thinking about, wow, here I am in this voice stage that is completely different. I mean, it couldn't be polar opposites. And it's really cool, though, because I've got these, like, visceral memories of playing with this band and my blues brothers, my guys, and the people that were right on top of us. And that's what I tap into when I'm trying to sing, I'm singing songs. I just put myself back into that environment in my mind.
That's good stuff. Now, Pete, if folks want to keep up as you continue on the season, where's the best place to keep up social media-wise with everything you got going?
Yeah, definitely on Facebook and Instagram. Those are kind of my two places that I really am trying to post and reach out to people and stay connected. Obviously, YouTube, they can check out stuff on YouTube. But I would say Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Check it out.
All right. Well, Pete, congratulations so far on the season. Best of luck as you continue on, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon, brother.
Thanks, Cameron. Have a wonderful day, buddy.
Now, there have definitely been points this year where we're looking for anything to break up the week and make one day feel better than another. And I really do mean anything. According to a new survey, 32% of people say that during the pandemic, doing laundry has been one of their highlights of the week. And here's the full top 10 list of the very ordinary things that have become weekly highlights. Number 1, exercising. 47% say it's a highlight. Number 2, taking a walk, 44%. Number 3, grocery shopping, 44%. Number 4, watching a favorite TV show, 42%. Number 5, watching a movie, 35%. Number 6, filling up the gas tank, 35%. Number 7, reading, 32%. Number 8, doing the laundry, 32%. Number 9, making breakfast, 30%. And number 10, baking, 28%. Our final guest on the podcast today, an author, best-selling author as well, Kaira Rouda, on with us today. Got a new book coming out on the 1st to talk about The Next Wife. And actually, Kaira, the cover, which is over my left shoulder, has been sitting around on our dinner table for the last couple of weeks, and my wife is always like, "Why are you reading this book?" I was like, "I promise it's for an interview."
It's kind of I love the cover. It's very gripping, and it's just mysterious too. Yeah. So she's probably wondering if it's romance, but it's not.
Now tell our listeners about the inspiration behind the new book and how excited you are. I mean, we're on the short term getting down to release day as well.
Yeah, it's been an exciting time. I haven't had a book come out since the pandemic, really. So my last book came out in May of 2019. So it's really exciting, although it's going to feel different, of course, because all the events are virtual, but it's still really exciting to be back out there with a new story to talk about. And The Next Wife is, like my other books, in domestic suspense. So it's kind of unreliable narrators and hopefully some twists and turns that you won't expect. Do you want me to tell you a little bit about the story?
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, well, the problem is with domestic suspense, you can't say that much without giving it away. But the setup is John and Kate Nelson had a beautiful life, one daughter, and a thriving business, just a booming business. And so they've been working together, raising a child together. And then all of a sudden, John falls in love with his executive assistant, Tish. So when you meet them at the beginning of the story, they're all celebrating in some degree or other the IPO of Eventco, their company. And Tish is now the next wife. And Kate is, of course, the first wife. And she's there because this is her company too. And Ashlyn, the daughter, is there. So that's kind of the setup. And hopefully I wanted to kind of start with that and then maybe flip things around a little bit.
Now, how you start things off with just the average normal, and then you start digging a little bit. And where does the inspiration to do that digging and tearing people apart come from?
Well, I wouldn't say tearing people apart. I would say maybe revealing their true nature. Because, people can hide who they are, right? And so we have a lot of people that we encounter in the world that are maybe not what they seem to be. So that's kind of where my books start. Like how could I be friends with somebody, be in love with somebody, and then they're actually this person that I don't realize who they are. So a lot of my narrators and first-person characters will reveal themselves slowly to the reader, even more so than they do to the person that they're supposedly in love with.
Now, where did you first fall in love with writing? And was there a teacher that maybe inspired the love of writing and reading in you at a younger age?
Definitely. I'm a daughter of a professor, so books were always very much part of our lives. But I remember in third grade, the teacher gave the assignment to write to a person who you want to become when you grow up. So I wrote to Robert McCloskey of Make Way for Ducklings and Blueberries for Sal and all those great books. And he wrote back and said, thanks for the letter, but I'm an illustrator, not an author. You should research better next time. So that's kind of indicative of the publishing process. I think, it was a lot of ups and downs. And then I did have a really formative librarian, Mrs. Gardier, in elementary school, who my first little book, she laminated and put on the shelf. And it was just, I was like, that's what I wanted to do.
That's cool. Now, when did you actually sit down and actually write for the first time? When was your first writing experiment, if you will?
Well, it was funny because I was a journalist and an English major in college, but my first published work was a nonfiction book for women entrepreneurs. And that was based on my experience running a company with my husband. It's a little similar to The Next Wife and not all the way similar. And so I'm going around the country speaking about putting your passions into action and living the life of your dreams and how your personal brand should be walking around the world. And I realized, I'd always wanted to sit down and do it, and we sold our company. And I realized, well, I'm telling all these women to do this, and you've always wanted to write a novel, so sit down and do it. So that's when I finally did, about 10 years ago.
What does it look like, a finished product now, as opposed to the first one that you wrote?
Yeah, well, I'm learning to outline. That's been my number one lesson of the pandemic year, because during the pandemic, I was able to write a lot, which I guess some writers couldn't, and some people, I couldn't read anything. I was just binging, streaming stuff because I don't know, I couldn't concentrate, but I could write a lot. But my agents were like, all right, you got to slow down and tell us where you're going. So I'm embracing the power of outline. So all of my previous books, including The Next Wife, were not written with an outline. They were just kind of, they call it pantsing, just writing by the seat of your pants. And now I'm embracing the power of the outline. So that's what I've learned.
What's the hardest part of embracing that?
my characters really don't want to be told what to do at all. They're like, oh no, this is going to take our spunk out. I'm like, no, they promise it won't, So when I say I'm outlining, I mean, some people have these huge long outlines that look like half of a book when I'm just gotten to like bullet points. So I'm trying to straddle the line between pantsing and outlining.
Now, when you get feedback from your previous books and to know that there's folks out there that are eagerly awaiting the next wife, I mean, what does that mean to you on a personal side, not so much on the professional side?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than getting a great review from a friend or a person you don't know or a bookstagram or anything out there. I mean, there's tons of people who don't like what you do, which is fine too. I mean, that's kind of the where you kind of get the thick skin after doing this for a while. You try not to look at all the bad reviews and focus on the positive. So, I mean, I guess the best is getting like a handwritten letter from people or even a long email from someone who the book has touched them in some way that I didn't intend or I didn't even expect. In Best Day Ever, I have a really bad guy who's the first person narrator all the way through, which people don't like being in the head of a bad guy, I understand, so they shouldn't read that. But the best response has been from people sending me letters saying that about their best day ever, which was getting away from their not so great spouse or boyfriend or whatever. So anyway, there's a lot of good that can be had in the world through fiction, and hopefully my domestic suspense, even though it's going to be dark sometimes, can kind of help with that as well.
Now, has the writing continued to get darker over the last year, or has it by necessity you've been like, we got to put a little light out there? Has it gotten darker though?
No, it just got darker, and I didn't even mean for it to get darker. I'm like, what my agents, like a couple of the manuscripts, they're like, holy cow, you cannot go that dark. That is not your brand. I couldn't help. I even scared myself a couple of times, like during the pandemic, I'd be up here in my office writing, and then I'm like, oh, you just did that. And yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I'll try to revise them and not be so dark.
But that's funny. Now, how long is the process from idea to completion for you now?
Yeah, I once heard my friend told me the answer should be a lifetime, because you do use all of your experiences and all that goes into it. But, it's different from every manuscript that you do. Like sometimes you're just on this roll and it flows really easily, and it can be, a matter like 6 months. And then other manuscripts are like chugging away at it, and the characters aren't so clear, and maybe that's when you need an outline. so yeah, but I mean, it's a long process, and between getting the writing down and all the different drafts and then working with your editor and hopefully selling it to a publisher, all of that takes a long time. And then it's finally out in the world in a couple of weeks. Or in my case, I was really lucky. I got an Amazon First Reads pick, so it's been out for Prime members for the month of April so far, and it's great. I mean, like I said, I try not to look at the 1-star and 2-star reviews, but everybody seems to be liking it.
Now, for you to get the early feedback and a normal release, obviously you'd have more in-person things. How do you gear up? How do you gear up emotionally for this release?
Yeah, it is really different. I was just, I live in Laguna Beach, and I was just down in the village last night for dinner. And it's so nice to finally be able to walk around again, albeit with masks. And so I was going to drop in the bookstore, and of course it's not open because it's limited hours and everything, but we're having a release party on May 7th. It's going to be through Zoom, of course, but I was just standing there like looking in the window, like I can't wait till we're back in person. But I mean, they've been so supportive. So we're gonna do the same thing, only just through Zoom, and it'll be fun, although not the same.
Yeah. Now, how do you change goal setting? This is something I've been asking folks a lot since we kind of lost 2020. How does your goal setting, or maybe your writing schedule change?
I mean, it's odd because we're in this kind of between land right now, I feel like. So we're in between feeling, I mean, we'll never go back to normal, I suppose, but I think we're in this phase where we're like, hopefully optimistically going to be back to something like normal. So I think, to me, I'm trying to get a little more balance in the writing schedule, because I really did use that as an outlet. I was either writing or gardening, and then writing again and gardening, and then binge watching something. So I'm trying to get, a little more well-rounded about things, going to a grocery store again, doing those kind of things that are normal and feel more normal. Because I think the thing that I've also learned through the years is that the muse is fragile. So you need to like nourish it with other things besides like making yourself have some kind of rigid expectation of your production.
The Next Wife, tell our listeners where they can find more information about it. And if they're Amazon Prime members, they already have access to it.
Yeah, if you're Amazon Prime, you can download the Kindle for free if you haven't already picked your book of the month, which would be great. So, and also then once it's out May 1st, in a bookstore near you, and hopefully you will give it a shot.
There you go. Well, Kaira Rouda, I would making doubly sure that I make the pronunciations correct today.
You got it.
Well, yeah. It's been great to visit with you. Obviously, couldn't tell us too much about the book, but I'm looking forward to spending some time with it.
Oh, I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great.
Thanks again for joining us for this 64th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, anything else you'd like to know, hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at gqwithcam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, visit our merch store. We've got hoodies, mugs, tumblers, shirts, stickers, and more. It's gqwithcam.com/shop. If you have a special guest idea, email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Again, thanks to our good friend Brandon Allen for coming up with our theme music. We're going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday.